everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to solve 4 questions on the anatomy of the heart. By the end of this video, you'll not only learn the facts, but also learn how they are clinically relevant. On my channel, I teach medicine along with questions, share productivity tips, speak a bit about my journey, and also provide guidance for the USMLE and residency. So if any of this interests you, do subscribe to my channel. Question number 1. If a person is stabbed at the fifth intercostal space along the left sternal border, which of the following structures is most likely to be affected? Option A, left ventricle. Option B, right ventricle. Option C, left lung. Option D, aorta. The answer to this question is right ventricle. Let's first understand the anatomy of the chest. This is the sternum, these are the ribs. For an organized approach, the anterior chest is divided into different parts with the help of a few imaginary lines. The line in the middle of the sternum is known as the mid-sternal line. Para always refers to next to, so the parasternal line is right next to the sternum. This is the clavicle, so the line from the middle of the clavicle is known as the mid-clavicular line. Since this is the axilla, the line right here is the anterior axillary line. These are the chambers of the heart. Our patient has a stab wound at the fifth intercostal space along the left parasternal line. A wound at this location is likely to affect the right ventricle. Since the right ventricle is the most anterior part of the heart, it overall has a higher chance of being injured in case of trauma. Isolated lung injury can take place if the penetrating injury is towards the lateral parts of the chest. The aorta isn't present in this location mentioned in the question, so right ventricle is the most appropriate answer. Question number 2. The sinoatrial node receives blood from Option A, right coronary artery. Option B, left coronary artery. Option C, posterior descending artery. Option D, depends on dominance. The answer to this question is right coronary artery. The coronary artery is the one that supplies blood to the heart. It branches into the right and left coronary arteries. The sinoatrial node is located in the right atrium and receives blood from the right coronary artery. The RCA gives rise to acute marginal artery and posterior descending artery. The left coronary artery gives rise to the left circumflex and the left anterior descending artery. The posterior descending artery supplies the AV node. The branching pattern of this artery depends on dominance. This means that the posterior descending artery arises from the right coronary artery in people with right dominant branching, while in people with left dominant branching, the posterior descending artery arises from the left coronary artery. Do you know which artery is most commonly occluded? It is the left anterior descending artery. Question number 3. How does the vagus nerve decrease the heart rate? Option A, by acting on the SA node. Option B, acting on the AV node. Option C, both. Option D, none. The answer to this question is both. The vagus nerve, like most other cranial nerves, is parasympathetic. It acts on the SA node and slows it down. It also delays the conduction at the AV node. Watch my video on conduction and heart blocks to understand this better. Question number 4. Which of the following conditions is associated with chronic dysphagia? Option A, Staphylococcus aureus endocarditis. Option B, aortic dissection. Option C, rheumatic fever. The answer to this question is rheumatic fever. Rheumatic fever is an autoimmune condition in which antibodies against M proteins attack the heart. This is a consequence of a streptococcal infection. Our body makes antibodies to kill the streptococcus but ends up attacking the heart. This is the reason why anti-streptolizin O titers would be high in patients with acute rheumatic fever. The mitral valve is the most commonly affected part. There are vegetations here which can lead to mitral stenosis. Note that initially it causes mitral regurgitation and later causes mitral stenosis. Since there's an obstruction here, the left atrium has to put in extra effort in order to pump blood out of this chamber. This, over time, can lead to left atrial enlargement. The left atrium is the most posterior part of the heart. Hence, it's very close to the esophagus. Whenever there's left atrial enlargement, it can potentially compress the esophagus, leading to dysphagia. This is how rheumatic fever can end up causing dysphagia. An enlarged left atrium can also compress the recurrent laryngeal nerve, leading to hoarseness. This is known as Ortner's syndrome. Staphylococcus aureus endocarditis is commonly seen in IV drug users. This affects the tricuspid valve. I think of it this way. Since these drugs are injected in the veins, the bacteria enters the veins and drains into the right heart. This way, it comes in contact with the tricuspid valve. This is also known as acute endocarditis. Note that this happens in valves which are initially healthy as compared to subacute endocarditis, which takes place in previously damaged valves. Subacute endocarditis is caused by less virulent organisms. Aortic dissection is more likely to present with an acute tearing chest pain which radiates to the back and not merely dysphagia. I've spoken more about it on my video on the anatomy of the aorta and its branches. Add it to your watch list for another collection of interesting questions. In my next video, I'm going to explain high-yield met concepts in less than 1 minute. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss it. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.